Thank you, sir. And for the next 7 minutes, I'm going to take you on what are the optimal artificial teardrop you would like to choose for your patient. No financial interest in the mention of any of the products during the course of my talk. So this is what all physicians, all clinicians face when they look at the battery of products which are now available over the counter for managing dry eye disease. Which one is going to be more optimal? We've seen this vicious circle chart in almost every talk of dry eye. Remember, when you're looking at artificial replacements, artificial tears are not targeting the pathogenesis of the dry eye disease, but are tailored to produce symptomatic relief, stabilize the tear film, and to a certain extent tackle the hyperosmolarity. So that's what's going to be the mechanism of action. And in today's approach to dry eye disease management, we have moved away from managing symptomatic dry eye to managing or stabilizing the tear film to produce an optimal tear homeostasis so that you do not have progressive damage to the ocular surface. So that's how the approach towards management of dry eye has changed. And understanding the tear film model plays an imperative role. So it is it's a complex model of superficial lipids and a mucin aqueous combination lying underneath. The lipid layer is a mixture of polar and non-polar lipids, where the aqueous mucin has a complex integrated structures of soluble proteins and mucins and the glycocalyx layer, which is closely integrated with the epithelial cell microvilli. So why do we need artificial tears, or how do they actually help us? They form the first line of therapy, and they help in tear volume replenishment, the stabilization, provide a smooth refractive surface, help in reducing the tear osmolarity, and protect the ocular surface from damage due to the friction between the ocular adnexa. What do they contain? They have demulcents and emollients. So basically, they have an active ingredient and an inactive ingredient. The active ingredients are demulcents, which are water-soluble hydrogen polymers, which could be either cellulose-based, or they could be a PEG-PG combination. And they help to increase the tear viscosity, and there are varying concentrations in which used, and emollients are basically lipid-containing formulations, which would increase the surface retention. What are the inactive ingredients? These largely comprise of preservatives, buffers and electrolytes, osmoprotections, and viscosity enhancing agents. So understanding what your teardrop contains is going to go a long way in what you would probably like to prescribe for the patient, depending on the ocular surface pathology which he or she is having here. So an ideal drop needs to manage all these components which you're seeing on your screens now here. So different demolition systems which we have in hand are cellulose-based, glycerin-based, emulsion-based here. And after we do go about environmental modifications and targeting treatment towards the particular ocular surface disease, which is causative for or responsible for the dry eye, we would like to choose an artificial tear with emollients if you're tackling a meibomian gland disease. If you're having an evaporative dry eye disease, which is basic by the MGD, which is what most of us do tend to see in clinical practice, combine your artificial tears with other therapies such as warm compresses and the systemic and ocular medications. If it is an aqueous deficient dry eye disease, then you would probably want to include a lot of your tear replacements in combination or separately in order to give a sufficient viscosity and tear volume for the ocular surface to function effectively. Mixed dry eyes, up to 70% of dry eyes in current scenarios are being mixed dry eyes, where you have an evaporative and an aqueous deficient component present here. So that's when a permutation and combination of these medications are probably going to work. So the way you would approach a patient is looking at his symptoms to sort of shortlist what is causing the problem. Is it a meibomian gland insufficiency? Is it a lipid insufficiency, or it's an aqueous insufficiency here? Understand the cellulose lubricants, the components of the polymers, which are either polysaccharide based or acrylic based. They can be HPMC, dextran, hyaluronic acid, which are the polysaccharides. would be on CMC. The acrylic paste are the PVP PEG components here. And each of them have their own have their own role cut out as increasing viscosity, enhancing lubrication, and increasing water retention, or acting as just wetting agents here. This is an interesting study, which I always recommend you go back and look up into it. And when you looked at comfort index of the various viscosity enhancing agents, you did find that the comfort index of hyaluronic acid, HPMC, and CMC scored far above the other PVP PEG molecules here. So that's how a combination of these molecules really help when you have a combined dry eye disease here. They act collectively to increase the tear film thickness, they protect against desiccation, improve tear retention on the ocular surface, maintain the tear film thickness, and thereby help in promoting the goblet cell activities. Again, this is a particular chart to understand what are the various constituents of the active polymers which comprise the teardrops. And looking at preservatives present here, we have now moved away most of our formulations from the hardcore damaging preservatives of the back-faced preservatives to more of the soft preservatives such as the polyquads or the SOCs, which are less damaging, especially when you need to use more frequent lubrications over a long period of time. And many of the mineral oil-based presentations are now available, which will help the tear retention over a long period of time. First line of therapies would be your simple hypermelose or the polyvinyl alcohol combinations here, which work well when the symptoms are episodic here, and they will help to stabilize the tear film. But a patient who's having damage beyond just episodic, then you would move on to paraffin-based or the other ones which contain which contain formulations like HB-GOR. And the third line of sodium hyaluronate is when I'll just take half a minute more here. And when the dry eye disease is most severe here. So the basic pointers towards decision-making: when your tear osmolarity is normal, low viscosity artificial tear agents will suffice. When the hyperosmolarity is a particular factor affecting the tear homeostasis, you will need to combine them with anti-inflammatory agents. And when you find significant ocular surface damage in terms of corneal and conjunctival epithelial cell staining and damage, then you will need to resort to use of an agent which contains osmoprotective constituents to help tackle the hyperosmotic status. Thank you for your patient listening.